What happens when two music powerhouses, both with decades of experience and their own unique journeys, clash over the meaning of real artistry and respect? You're about to find out, because when Morris Day sat down with Jennifer Hudson on her talk show, things went from cordial to combustible in a matter of minutes. The tension in that studio was so thick, you could feel it through the screen, and by the end, one of them had walked off in sheer frustration. It began like any other interview. Jennifer, warm and welcoming, smiled across at Morris Day's legendary frontman of the Timoretti to celebrate his latest project. "Maurice, it's such an honor to have you here," she said, her voice carrying both admiration and sincerity. "I've been a fan since childhood, listening to your music with my parents." Morris leaned back, adjusting his flashy jacket with a sly smile. "Well, thank you, Jennifer. It's always good to sit down with someone who appreciates real music. You know what I mean, the kind of music that actually means something." That last remark had a bite to it, but Jennifer brushed past it, pressing on with her questions about his new material and his creative process. Morris lit up, animated, as he spoke about the soul of his work and the authenticity he felt was missing in today's music. "See, back then," he said, "we didn't have machines and computers doing half the work. We had to sing for real, play instruments for real, connect with people on a level you can't fake." Jennifer nodded, though her smile had tightened just a little. "I hear you, Morris. But I think every generation brings incredible talent to the table. Artists today are doing amazing things with the tools they have." "Tools," Morris repeated with a smirk, almost spitting the word out. "That's the problem right there. Music isn't about tools. It's about talent. Raw, unfiltered talent. You either have it or you don't." The audience chuckled nervously, sensing the shift in the room. Jennifer tried to pivot back to his tour, but Morris wasn't letting go. "You know, Jennifer, since we're talking about talent, let me ask you something. Do you really think these reality show winners, these contest stars, have what it takes to create music that lasts?" The implication was clear as day. Jennifer's smile faltered, her posture stiffening. She, after all, had launched her career from American Idol before rising to Grammy and Oscar glory. "I believe talent comes in many forms, Maurice," she replied carefully. "Success isn't about where you start, about how hard you work and how much you grow." Morris leaned forward, eyes gleaming. "That's a nice answer. Diplomatic. But let's be real, there's a world of difference between organic artistry and manufactured success. Some of us built our careers grinding in clubs, perfecting our craft night after night. Others, they get fast-tracked through TV exposure and industry machines." Now the room was silent. Jennifer's jaw tightened. "Are you saying that artists who start on competition shows aren't legitimate?" "I'm not saying it, Jennifer." Morris replied coolly. "I'm stating it. Real artists don't wait for a platform to be handed to them, they build their own." Jennifer set her cards aside, leaning in now, her voice sharper. "So let me ask you directly, are you saying I'm not a real artist because of where I started?" Morris shrugged, unbothered. "Your words, not mine. But since you brought it up, tell me, before Idol, how many songs had you written? How many instruments could you play? How many years did you grind it out in little clubs, paying dues the hard way?" The fire in Jennifer's eyes was unmistakable now. "Maurice, you're confusing opportunity with talent." "Yes, I came from a competition show, but everything I've built since, every award, every performance, every role, came from my own hard work and determination." Morris chuckled, cutting her off. "Or maybe it came from the machine already built around you. Record deals waiting, promotions lined up, connections handed over on a silver platter. Don't act like it was all blood, sweat, and tears." At that moment, the atmosphere inside the studio snapped. The audience shifted uncomfortably. watching two legends collide over what it really means to earn a place in music history. Asterisk Jennifer's voice rose, firm but trembling with heat. That's incredibly disrespectful. Morris, I've worked my tail off for everything I've achieved. I've won an Oscar. I've won Grammys, and I've earned every one of them through talent and dedication. Morris leaned back, waving a hand like he was brushing away a fly. Awards don't mean much these days. They hand them out like participation trophies. Back in my day, you had to bleed for recognition. The remark cut deep. Jennifer's eyes narrowed, flashing with anger. Participation trophies. Are you serious right now? You're questioning my legitimacy as an artist when I've proven myself across music, film, and television time and time again. Multiple fields. Morris repeated, dripping with mockery. And that right there is the problem. Real artists stay married to their craft. They don't scatter themselves thin, chasing every spotlight that comes along. Jennifer shifted forward, nearly out of her chair. So now it's a crime to be versatile, to grow as an artist, to explore different mediums, to challenge myself. Maurice didn't flinch. His calmness was infuriating. It's not a crime, Jennifer. It's just the difference between someone who lives for music and someone who treats it like a stepping stone. The audience was frozen, the silence suffocating. Jennifer's hands gripped her chair so tightly her knuckles whitened. You know what, Morris? I've shown you nothing but respect since you sat down. And in return, you've insulted me, dismissed my career, and belittled my accomplishments. I haven't insulted anyone, Morris replied coolly. I'm simply telling the truth about what artistry really is. There's a difference between entertainment and authenticity, and too many people today don't know it. Jennifer's voice shook now, but it wasn't weakness. It was fury, barely contained. Your perspective isn't truth, Maurice. It's outdated. It's bitter. You can't stand that people find success differently now, so you sit here and try to tear them down. To tear me down? Why? Because it threatens the way you define yourself. For the first time, Morris's mask slipped, his eyebrows rising. Threatened by a reality show contestant. Don't flatter yourself, sweetheart. The word landed like a slap. Jennifer's composure shattered. She bolted upright, her voice slicing through the studio. Don't you dare call me sweetheart. I am a professional. I am the host of this show. And I am not some little girl you can patronize. The crowd gasped. Even Morris looked caught off guard at her ferocity. But instead of retreating, he smirked. Whoa, calm down. I was just being friendly. Friendly. Jennifer let out a sharp, humorless laugh. You've spent the last 10 minutes questioning my talent, dismissing my awards, insulting my path, and now you want to call that friendly. No, Morris. That's not friendly. That's straight disrespect. The camera zoomed in, catching every twitch of muscle on their faces. Morris shifted slightly, adjusting in his seat, but his voice stayed cold. I'm being honest about the state of music. If you can't handle a real conversation with a real musician, maybe you shouldn't be hosting these interviews. Jennifer's voice spiked. Real musician. Are you suggesting I'm not one? I've sold millions of records, performed with legends, been honored by every major institution in this country. He cut her off with that same dismissive flick of his hand. Selling records doesn't make you a musician. Having the industry machine behind you doesn't make you an artist. Being on the right show at the right time doesn't mean you've paid your dues. Jennifer planted both hands on her desk, her body fully upright now. You know what, Morris? I've had enough. You came here as my guest, and instead of sharing your story, you've sat here insulting me and everything I've built. What gives you the right? Morris laughed, low and cutting. The right. Try 40 years in this business. Try being part of a band that changed the sound of a generation. Try creating something original instead of singing covers on television for votes. That gives me the right. The shot landed clean. Everyone in the room knew Jennifer had cut her teeth on American Idol covers. Morris knew exactly where to twist the knife. Jennifer's face flushed, her voice rising like fire. Originality. Let's talk about that. How many of your biggest hits came from Prince's pen, Maurice? How much of your career was riding his genius instead of your own? And just like that, the studio erupted. For the first time all night, Morris was speechless, his face frozen in shock. The name Prince hit like a hammer. For the first time, Morris's composure cracked, his face tightened, voice sharp. Excuse me, Prince and I were collaborators. Partners, we created something revolutionary together. Jennifer leaned forward, eyes blazing. Collaborators. From what I remember, Prince wrote your songs, produced your albums, and built your image from the ground up. So if we're talking about manufactured success about riding someone else's talent, you might want to look in the mirror. Morris shot to his feet, his chair skidding back. You don't know what the hell you're talking about. Prince and I had a partnership that lasted decades. We shaped a sound that defined a generation. Oh, I respect that, Jennifer replied, her words dripping with sarcasm. But don't you think it's a little hypocritical to lecture me about authenticity? When your biggest claim to fame is being tethered to someone else's genius. Morris's face flushed crimson. That's completely different, and you know it. Prince and I came up together in Minneapolis. We built our music from the ground up. That's not the same as winning a singing contest and being handed a career. Jennifer let out a sharp, bitter laugh. Hand it to me. Do you think American Idol was easy? Do you think years of training, grueling performances, competing against some of the most talented voices in the country, that was just handed to me? Yeah, Morris snapped without hesitation. You sang songs that were already hits in front of judges searching for the next marketable face. That's not artistry. That's auditioning. The words landed like a slap. Even the crew behind. The cameras shifted uncomfortably. Off to the side, Jennifer's producer waved frantically, trying to figure out how to salvage the broadcast. Jennifer's voice dropped low. Dangerous? You know what, Maurice? I invited you here to celebrate your music, to give you a platform. Instead, you've spent this entire interview trying to tear me down. Morris crossed his arms, stone-faced. I'm not tearing anyone down. I'm telling the truth. There's a difference between earned success and manufactured success. That makes you uncomfortable? Maybe ask yourself why. Jennifer's composure finally snapped. She slammed a hand on her desk. What makes me uncomfortable is having a guest sit on my stage and disrespect me in front of my audience. What makes me uncomfortable is hearing you, someone who benefited from Prince's brilliance, lecture me about authenticity. Morris's face darkened. His voice was ice. Don't you ever question my relationship with Prince? You weren't there. You have no right. And you have no right to question my journey or my talent. Jennifer fired back instantly. The difference between us, Maurice, is I don't need to tear other artists down to validate myself. He stepped closer to her desk, looming. The difference is that I earned my place in history, decades of innovation, decades of creativity. While you got famous singing other people's songs on national TV. The silence in the studio was suffocating. Everyone could feel the line had been crossed. Jennifer's expression hardened, a mix of fury and disbelief. I cannot believe the level of disrespect. I've achieved things most artists only dream of, and I've done it with talent, with grit, with real work. Morris smirked, the corner of his mouth curling. If you say so. The casual dismissal lit the fuse. Jennifer's eyes blazed as her voice erupted, shaking the studio walls. If I say so. Maurice, let me tell you something about saying so. I say so because I've proven it, over and over again. On Broadway, on film sets, on world tours, on records. Every single step of my career, I've proved it. Morris rolled his eyes. A fatal mistake. Here we go with a resume again. Yes, the resume. Jennifer snapped, her voice echoing. Because unlike you, I don't need to cling to the past or tear others down to justify my worth. My resume speaks for itself. And if that threatens you, that's your problem, not mine. Morris laughed, low and bitter. Your resume was written by TV producers and record execs chasing dollar signs. Mine was written by audiences who experienced something real. Something real. Jennifer's voice rose, almost a shout now. You want real? Real is standing on that idle stage week after week, pouring my heart into every note. Real is fighting for every vote, every break, every chance. That's as real as it gets. While millions of people judged every note, Jennifer pressed on, voice fierce but cracking with emotion. I turned that opportunity into a career across industries. Real is earning an Oscar for my first movie role because I brought something authentic to that performance. Morris shook his head with a scoff. Please. Anyone can cry on cue and walk away with an Oscar these days. Standards aren't what they used to be. That was it. Jennifer's fury crystallized. Her voice cut like glass. Get out. Morris blinked. What? I said, get out. She pointed toward the exit, her hand trembling but unyielding. This interview is over. I will not sit here and let you demean me, my work, or my achievements another second. The studio fell into stunned silence. Morris glanced around as if searching for an ally. You're serious? You're throwing me out? Because I told the truth about this industry. No, Jennifer said, steady now. I'm throwing you out because you've been nothing but insulting and cruel. This was supposed to be about your music. Instead, you made it about attacking me. Maurice gathered his things slowly, theatrically. Typical. Young artists today can't handle real talk. Everything has to be sugar-coated. Jennifer's voice rose, disbelief breaking through. Criticism. You call this criticism? You've been taking cheap shots since the second you sat down. That's not honesty, Maurice. That's cruelty. He straightened his jacket, chin high. Cruel. No, honest. And if you can't stomach honesty about your career, maybe you're in the wrong business. Jennifer snapped. Don't you dare. Tell me where I belong. I earned my place here through talent, through work, through dedication. Maybe if you spent less time clinging to the past, you'd recognize the present. Morris started toward the exit, but couldn't resist one last jab. The present is the problem, Jennifer. A parade of manufactured stars pretending contest. Wins make them real artists. The present has forgotten what music used to sound like. Security, Jennifer called, though Maurice was already striding out. Don't bother, he tossed over his shoulder. I'm leaving. But remember, this when the TV lights fade and the marketing campaigns dry up, real artistry is what lasts. Some of us will still be standing when the manufactured stars disappear. With that, Morris walked off set, leaving Jennifer trembling behind her desk. The audience frozen in uneasy silence. Jennifer inhaled sharply, steadying herself against the weight of the cameras still rolling. She forced a professional smile, though her hands betrayed the shake of adrenaline. Well, she managed, her voice unsteady but resolute. That's one way to end an interview. She turned directly to the lens. To our audience, I apologize. That is not the kind of conversation I intended to have tonight. It certainly wasn't the respectful dialogue our guests or you deserve. Her voice softened, but the conviction remained. I believe there's room in this industry for every kind of artist, no matter their path. What matters is the art itself, the connection it makes, the way it touches people. Not where we started, but what we do with the opportunity. She sat back, visibly exhausted, but pushed through. Music is supposed to unite, to inspire, to lift people up. What just happened here? Was the opposite of that? Jennifer looked into the camera one last time, eyes fierce despite the wariness in her frame. We can debate the industry. We can disagree on process, but we don't have to tear each other down to make a point. There's space in music for all of us. The tension in the studio was electric. Two artists, both legends in their own right, colliding with no room for compromise, no bridge of respect. What do you think? Was Morris Day right to call out the industry, or did he cross the line into personal attack? Drop your thoughts in the comments and don't forget to subscribe for more of the explosive, unfiltered moments shaking the music world.